Even since the beginning of the civilization, the humanity tries to understand itself and sees it as a big problem. Even the Greeks said that you have to understand yourself first, and that's a very deep statement. And in this vein, Nietzsche proclaimed something similar, that you have to become who you truly are. And that seems a little bit like a contradiction, but it points, first of all, our attention to our individuality and that we have to be ourselves, which is far more difficult than we are led to believe. And second of all, that we need to pay attention to the source of immense power that we have, and that we need to focus on becoming stronger. I talked about this previously, but life is difficult, especially as a man, and so you need to understand suffering and accept it. And only through pain you can achieve greatness. And he was against the Buddhist who said that life is absurd, and that and he said that the meaning of life lies in its complications and how you manage to overcome them, from which you shouldn't shy away, never. And that's a deep statement. If you take it at face value, you might think that you should pursue pain. Maybe that's what he intended. I don't know. But I think that if you accept it when it comes, then suffering is a good thing. But that doesn't mean that we should want it, you know, because life is difficult as it is, and you don't need to make it more complicated just because you want to evolve. When when it makes you face struggles, then you should focus on that and overcome them. But that doesn't mean that you should seek trouble. Anyway, that's what he meant, and more or less another aspect of his philosophy when it comes to becoming who you truly are is the one that encourages to develop your taste and not to swallow everything. That sounds a little bit condescending, but that's how he was, at least in his writings. And it means that you shouldn't be ready to read everything, for instance. If you don't know, Nietzsche was not a very big reader, which he borrowed from Schopenhauer, and they were both advocating for the power of solitude, in which great thinkers find their deepest ideas, and which allows you to be yourself too. more than anything else. So he was against that because your brain also needs enough time to process what you have gathered, and so you need time to stay idle and just reflect or stare at a wall. It makes no difference. Nietzsche was also a big lover of music, and he proclaimed that without it, life will be an error. So it will be good if you learned to appreciate it, especially classical one. For those that don't know, he was a big admirer and a friend of Wagner, although lately they fell apart because Nietzsche felt that the great composer, alongside with his wife, used him. With his wife Cosmina, who, after her husband died, has repudiated the great philosopher's love and didn't want to become his wife. And he felt like having a woman to support him would be a good idea. That being said, it doesn't mean that she behaved exactly like his writings might lead us to believe. He kind of constructed an ideal of living based partially on the Greek philosophy, of which he was a great admirer, and whose aesthetical values he has used to found his own system. But it doesn't mean that he was like that. Actually, in some way, he was the opposite because he has a very weak, he had a very weak health, and so his body craved for health and power, and that's why his philosophy kind of changed. It was a reaction of his viscerality that needed some sort of counterbalance. Schopenhauer, for instance, didn't change his mind throughout his life, and he never wanted to become married, but he was also healthier and used to play the flute. So everyone kind of aspires to find some balance. It doesn't mean that what he said was wrong, but that's also one of the reasons why he shifted his beliefs and idealized strength because you need it in order to survive. And he's quoted that he has a quote saying that I have no pity for the weak or something similar. But in his real life, he was romantic, I feel, and he didn't find the love that he wanted, or that's because he wasn't ready to settle just for every woman. And that's what happens. If you narrow down the choices that you have, you end up with nothing because women feel like you need them too much, and so their instincts tells them to reject you. You become a quote unquote needy, like we used to say these days. But that's the reality, and everybody does his best to be himself, even though we don't really fathom what that means and who we truly are. But ultimately, it's up to you. So, yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. And if you want, you can watch some other videos regarding the same topic.